Well, you're right. And I did go back on the minutes, not all of the minutes, but some of the minutes of the Curriculum Study Committee that they had, I guess it was for a couple of years, right, total? And I did see that, I said before, you were very dogged, and you have been. You haven't missed a beat in terms of keeping track of everything, and I saw that you did go to those meetings. And I hope, you know, my mind is boggled trying to quick study a lot of stuff, but was it the Unraveling of IB article that you attempted? Well, I guess you did succeed in at least handing it out to the committee.
Right.
But apparently you did want to at least make it available to any parent whose child was considering going into IB, and apparently that was denied?
Right, right. Once IB was in the school, I went to the superintendent and to the administration, and I said, you know, there's a document, and it's a well-researched document. It's called IB Unraveled. And it's really, it's not so much a biased article. It gives you all the facts and gives you all the resources.
I was just about to say, I saw a lot of tables in there that did give a lot of information.
And I said, you know, I think this would be good to give out to parents of IB students, so that way they can look through this and, you know, kind of get a real good clear about what IB is about before enrolling. Because, again, this program is supposed to get you to think critically, and interestingly enough, it's hard to find any critical views or any opinions that come from people who either have experienced the program or who are supportive of it. That always boggles my mind. So I went and I asked them to distribute it, and they said, well, it had to go before this committee. And it went before the committee, and interestingly enough, I presented it to them, and they never addressed it. They never really addressed the document.
The committee didn't?
No,
really?
and I brought them other information, and I said, you know, here's the criticisms on it. I listened I listened to their discussions, and they eventually said, you know, this is not going to be passed out. This information is not going to be given. I believe, though, interestingly enough, I think the coordinator did give it to the students to look at. I think that, yeah, I think that he probably felt like, you know, this is good information. Let's take a look at it.
Well, what was the reason they took, not maybe a formal stance, but what was the reason that they objected to it being given to the parents? Were you ever told?
You know, it's been a while, so my memory might be failing me.
I know, it is a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, so what I remember is that I think they looked at the IB program, but you know, the cards were stacked. I mean, they chose teachers, they chose, you know, they handpicked their parents to have on the committee. They did choose 2 school board members at the time, Tom Collette, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Cindy Shagnon was on that committee. And then they brought in some students who spoke in favor of IB, but interestingly enough, Tom Collette, who was on the board at the time, his daughter, I believe, had done some of the IB classes, and she did not like them. And he had suggested that they bring her in to speak, and she was never called. She was never called to speak.
Really?
You know, so
this would have been just to the
committee,
the subcommittee.
Yes, yes.
So that, I mean, those weren't televised meetings or anything, correct?
No. No. So, yeah, I find it interesting that it seems like anybody who has looked at this with a critical eye, me and some of the other people who have said, you know, wait a second, there's something to this program. Nobody else has acknowledged that there's any issues to this program. No, you know, the people who support it cannot seem to bring themselves to say, you know what, here's the good, and here's the bad, and here's why we chose this. We've looked at this. I can't get answers. I can't. At the committee hearings, this is what they heard from parents. The transparency of this program is almost non-existent, because I talk to parents around the country who are involved with IB, and they can't get answers either. So I don't know if it's the fact that they don't have the answers, they're ignoring parents. Interestingly enough, at the IB website, there's actually a page that gives the school recommendations on how to deal with people who oppose this program in the school.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. Well, as people will know by the time they see the show, because there already have been some newspaper accounts of it, but the weekly newspapers haven't kicked in yet. The school board meeting the other night had a standing room only crowd, and only one person got the opportunity to state some of the con against IB, and then the rest basically were either parents or students, and I think there were a teacher or two as well, saying the program was great. And one of them, you'll be happy to know, I was kind of taking notes. I did not go down there, by the way, but I was watching on TV, and when the one opponent spoke, I couldn't hear everything on TV, but it kind of sounded like the crowd was not very receptive to it, that they might have been trying to discourage her from speaking.
Right.
And I did hear afterwards that there were other people there who wanted to speak, but when they saw that, kind of thought, not going to do it.